let's get pissed off at something else, huh? Okay, PragerU, is America losing its mind? Let's just dive in and see what kind of nonsense they've got for us today.
There are few things worse than being called intolerant, inflexible, or close-minded. Who wants to be that? Isn't it far better to be open to everything, dismissive of nothing? Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, this whole like you should be open-minded to everything, like you could see where he's going with this, right? Like already you could tell he's going to this is going to become some kind of critique on sexual deviancy, which he is going to relate to homosexuality in the LGBTQIA plus community. It's going to suck. Let's go.
Let's frame this a different way. Should we have any standards at all? Or should the standards simply be anything goes? These are new questions. For most of
No, they're not.
American history, standards of acceptable behavior were generally agreed upon.
No, they weren't.
Today, we can't even agree on the difference between men and women. Those on the progressive left seem dead set on unsettling just about every settled question, all in the name of being open-minded.
No, that's not the case, man. There's an intellectual honesty with acknowledging the fact that life is complex and complicated, and that answers aren't that simple. Okay, just because we thought of something as binary because it was easier to do so doesn't mean that the true answer isn't more complex. Just because we used to worship the sun doesn't mean when we realize that the universe was bigger we didn't adjust our opinions. Okay, so as we evolve and new information becomes available to us, we have to adjust our perspectives. Otherwise you end up doing stupid fucking PragerU videos and coming off like a complete jackass. All right.
But can your mind be so open that your brains fall out?
Nah.
Do we need to tolerate every crackpot view under the sun, no matter how harmful?
No, absolutely we do not. And so I think this fucking bullshit where everyone in the LGBTQIA plus community is out to get you and is up to some nefarious scheming. We shouldn't entertain it. We shouldn't allow this kind of content out there. But here we go.
No matter how false?
Do
Do we need, for example,
I don't like
to
this
keep
guy.
an open mind on murder? Of course not. That question's settled, and every citizen has an obligation to.
So is it me, or do we have first degree murder, second degree murder, manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter, and about 50 other variations on the actual crime of killing someone? Isn't that a ridiculously complex question? Don't we have really long drawn out trials with evidence and testimonies and witnesses, and then 12 separate jurors who we vet for objectivity before we decide if somebody's guilty of murder or not? Don't give me that whole bullshit. Oh, well, murders. Don't fucking. Oh, the disingenuous nature of literally everything that PragerU puts out is infuriating. The intellectual dishonesty of it. This guy is not as stupid as he's purposely portraying himself in order to make this point. He's not. He's not this stupid. As a matter of fact, most people aren't as stupid as they choose to portray themselves because it's easier for their fucking narrative.
Follow the law, even if someone doesn't want to, even if he identifies as a serial killer. How about a more controversial example?
You don't think relating trans issues and how people identify themselves, relating that to being a murderer is a controversial enough example? Cool, where are we going?
Consider the case of Drag Queen Story Hour, an activist organization that sends transvestite men wearing sexualized clothing into elementary schools and public libraries to read books and sometimes even dance in front of little kids.
Ah, yes, the sexualized clothing of a dress. Don't tell me wearing a dress is nefarious. I just don't buy it.
In the name of
Sexualized.
tolerance,
This
must
guy's
we
wearing
allow
a
men to
dress.
strap on stilettos and wiggle around in front of toddlers,
What the
even when our communities object? Even when we know that it's wrong?
Okay, see, that kind of charged bullshit language is why I can't stand PragerU. That kind of assumptive, just lazy condescension, right? How about this? Isn't it wrong to make this video even when you know it's harmful, bigoted, counterproductive hate mongering? Isn't it wrong to put this video out there when you know it's just baseless fear mongering and can cause actual harm to actual people? Isn't it disingenuous to say these things when you know you're full of shit?
This example is a little bit tougher for the tolerance crowd. Not because the answer is obvious, it is, but because any way you
This
answer,
fucking guy.
someone's views are not going to be tolerated. If we answer, yes, we do need to tolerate Drag Queen Story Hour, then we are refusing to tolerate the wishes of parents and
Don't take your kids to story hour. Boom. Done. Done. Done.
taxpayers who don't want their public property used in drag shows for kids.
Fuck you.
If we answer no, we're refusing to tolerate the wishes and behavior of the transvestites who want to perform in public schools. There is no world in which the answer to this question accommodates and tolerates everyone and everything. So the question that divides us is not whether every public behavior must be tolerated. The question that divides us is which public behaviors should be tolerated and which should not.
Wow.
For most of American history,
Fucking
if a
shocking.
man dressed up in sexual clothing to perform for children, he'd be arrested.
Sexual fucking clothing. Oh, this language that he's using is so disingenuous and manipulative. I can't fucking stand it.
For centuries, America had refused to tolerate all sorts of bad things, such as obscenity, the incitement to violence, and public nudity. Even when such laws and limits have been repealed or gone unenforced, it isn't as though some sort of pure tolerance has blossomed in their place. Instead, old intolerance has been replaced by new intolerance.
What the fuck? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here comes racism. Here comes racism. You can feel it. I can feel it bubbling up.
50 years ago, a teacher might be fired for teaching the Communist Manifesto in school. Today, a teacher could be fired for teaching the Bible in school.
You should absolutely be fired for teaching the Bible in school. Okay? You should be fired. Teaching about the Bible is one thing, okay? We can all agree that when he says teaching the Bible, he means instructing from the Bible as a source material rather than a piece of literature from 2,000 years ago. Like we would read fucking Gilgamesh or the Iliad or something. We can read the Bible as we would read the Iliad, and that's fine. Teaching from the Bible is bullshit and should not be allowed. Teaching from the Communist Manifesto would have got you thrown in prison 50 years ago. Well, it's about 70 years ago now, during McCarthyism, right? Which we all agree was a dark period of American history and is a stain on our history. McCarthyism was awful, and we've had to like reckon with that over the decades. But here he is longing for McCarthyism, basically, and pining for a time in which we threw socialists into prison and allowed religious indoctrination. So fuck this guy.
10 years ago, if you called a man a woman, you'd probably get a punch in the nose.
I can't. This shit's gonna take me forever to get through, man. Oh my god.
Today, if you refuse to call a man a woman, you might find yourself banned from social media.
You notice how they changed that, right? They changed the getting punched in the face because their fucking masculinity is so fragile. The thought of being punched by that same man, if he were to identify as a woman, right? Same person, same person. If that person was to identify as a woman and punch them in the face, it would threaten their fucking fragile masculinity. So just even in this delusional hypothetical victim narrative scenario, they still have to maintain some kind of toxic masculine, hyper masculine fucking persona. It's pathetic.
Who decides what those limits of toleration should be?
Who decides? It's the same people who always decide. It's society at large. And you are trying to drag us kicking and screaming backward, or at the very least, trying to cling to dear life to a status quo that is no longer applicable to society, okay? The internet changed everything. We can all talk to each other. We have a much clearer view of what does and doesn't work in society. And more so than ever, we're aware that people are just people and we all have the same general wants and needs. Okay. So dividing us up based on stupid bullshit that doesn't matter or making us adhere to some old binary ways of thinking is defeatist. It's bullshit. And so the same people decide, as always, asshole.
Until relatively recently, the answer was we the people decide.
Oh,
It
fuck
sounds
you.
quaint now, but we had what were once called community standards. And what were those standards based on? The short answer is tradition. That is, what has worked well in the past.
This is false. False.
Today, we seem to live in a world with no reference to the past. We live in what British journalist Douglas Murray has dubbed Year Zero. It is presumed that we are much smarter than all those who lived before
no one presumes that.
us. This is a dangerous way of thinking
No one
because
thinks
it's
this
not
way.
rooted in anything, and it can be uprooted by the next political fad.
I love how the people so adamantly opposed to public education, so adamantly opposed to academia in general, and to continuous learning and the evolution of mankind, are also the ones complaining that we don't study history enough or that we don't appreciate. Are you out of your fucking mind? You're bitching at academia, at the people who actually spend their lives actually studying things instead of just regurgitating lazy Fox News talking points.
Of course, not everything that was done in the past was good or ought to be preserved into the
Oh,
future.
oh,
For
thanks.
centuries, slavery was commonplace, but it wasn't good. But tradition is the anchor that helps us discern the good. It avails us of
Is
the
it?
wisdom of the
Is it?
ages,
Okay.
and this
Okay.
discernment of the good led
Okay.
us to abolish slavery. Even though some of the founding fathers owned slaves, they knew it was wrong.
Here we go.
They were anchored in the biblical idea that all men are created in the image of God, and that tension eventually guided the country toward abolition. If we're going to overturn social norms, the burden of proof that radical social changes are going to make things better should be on the revolutionaries, not on the defenders of tradition.
Bullshit. Bullshit. The burden of proof that slavery was bad was on abolitionists because it wasn't self-evident enough because the defenders of oh my god. Wow. Wow. Okay, I will admit I didn't see that coming.
The conservatives have over 3,000 years of history behind them.
That's the most wrong thing I've ever heard. That might be the most demonstrably false statement I've heard PragerU make. Conservatives have 3,000 years of being on the wrong side of history. Conservatives didn't want slavery abolished. Conservatives didn't want women to be able to vote. Conservatives didn't want black people to be able to eat from the same lunch counters. Conservatives have been on the wrong side of every single issue ever. Okay, every single bit of progress that we have made as a society has been fought for, scratched tooth and nail fought for against these fucking ignorant ass bigots who don't ever want anything to change. I will not be told that conservatives have history on their side. That is ludicrous. Okay, it is through studying history and understanding the way things were, okay, that we are able to fully understand the complexities of the way things are and then have agency over the way things will be. Okay, these are progressive values, intellectual values, academic values, not conservative values. Oh my god, oh my god, if conservatives had their way, we would have never invented the wheel because some jackass would have been pissed off that you no longer had to drag things through the mud. He would have said, oh, this younger generation is so fucking lazy and has no work ethic. What are we going to do with this big round wheel thing? Okay, it's going to make everyone lazy. It's going to ruin everyone's work ethic. It's going to be the downfall of society. And it took progressives, it took smarter people than this asshole to finally push us forward and say, no, innovation is a good thing. Advancement and evolution is a good thing. Go fuck yourself. We're using the wheel. That's like the worst thing I've seen in a minute. That's the worst video I've seen in a minute. I am exhausted from how angry that video made me. Holy shit. Like I don't understand. Like you have to be so morally bankrupt to openly be disingenuous like that with a straight face and not care about how dishonest and how malicious and how ultimately harmful what you're saying is. You don't care because you're getting yours. You're getting paid. You're getting the attention you want. You're getting the affirmations you want from other fucking bootlickers. And so that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how harmful, misguided, and disingenuous you're being because fuck it, you got yours, right? Oh, that is that. Ooh, boy. Guys, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, please do leave a like on the video. Leave me some of your thoughts in the comments and do subscribe to the channel. I'd really, really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope I see you all again soon. Peace out.